The Gospel of Gold by G.S. Lewis. Chapter 43. The Broken Man. Gold didn't mind. His story had not been easy to live, but every retelling gave him a new appreciation of the experience. He could see the light of immense pride shine in his father's eyes, though there was also a building anxiety as time went on. Visiting hours were coming to a close, and that meant they would soon be parted again. Bailing the boys out had not been an option today. At the earliest, it would happen tomorrow. In the meantime, the guard gave Gold's father a look and tapped his watch. 2-minute warning, sir. He nodded, looking heavily burdened, and turned to his son. "Must you always be Gold?" he asked. Marina and Jinichi watched on, and Gold wondered about the implication of the question. "The Phoenix gave you a new name and a new purpose," the man clarified, setting a hand on Gold's shoulder. "And I don't grudge her for it. Without her, I would have never gotten to see you grow up. But..." His voice thickened, and he seemed to struggle with his emotions for a moment before mastering himself. "But your mother and I gave you a name too, and with it, a life that every parent would wish upon their child. An exciting and fulfilling one, to be sure, but not to the extent that every hour is filled with threat, and we must meet in jail." Gold smiled sadly, knowing how his father felt. He reached up to hug him, and the latter knelt to return the embrace. "Just take care tonight," he continued, holding his son. "It won't always be like this. I'll be back first thing in the morning to see about getting you out. And then we'll have a little peace for a while." "I'll be okay, Dad," Gold assured him as the guard opened the door for him. "They treat us a lot better here than they did in Goldenrod." With that, his father went, glancing back as he did. The guard shifted his attention to Marina, but she remained seated. "Just one more minute?" she begged. "My mom will come to pick me up soon. I'm sure they'll pass it along when she gets here." The guard looked uncomfortable at that, but the hours he'd already spent with this peculiar group had left an impression on him. He shrugged and backed out the door. "I suppose I can manage a little unpaid overtime. I'll be right outside." As he left, Gold glanced up at the television hanging over his head. "Guess we have this to look forward to tonight." "It'll be a slow night," remarked Jinichi, who could see it better from his own bench. "I've been keeping an eye on the news, and nothing's been happening. I thought for sure that Lance would have raided the League HQ by now. If only they'd left me my Pokegear and my internet, I'd have a lot better of an idea." "Ooh!" Marina perked up and pulled out her own Pokegear. "I haven't gotten to make a proper check, but here! Let's all have some updates." Just then, there was a flash of light, like the summoning of a Pokemon into the room. It was so sudden that Gold jerked and banged the back of his head against the cement wall. Dazed and half-blinded by pain, he looked up at the figure who had materialized into the center of the cell. With a gasp, he stumbled to his feet. "Will!" It was the Psychic Elite. Still wearing his flamboyant dress coat, but no longer sporting the enigmatic mask, he looked upon Gold with a pair of mismatched eyes, one blue, one green. Was that all there was to the mask's function? He wondered idly. A vanity accessory? Wait, does he really see me? "There you are," crooned Will, reaching toward him. "I need you to come with me, please." He advanced forward, his eyes turned in Gold's direction, but not focused upon him. Gold had no doubts about it now. Will could sense him, but his eyes were glazed over. He was still blind. Before he got any further, Jinichi lunged and caught the intruder around the waist, tackling him to the floor. It must have been a mindless reaction, done in the spur of the moment to catch the psychic off his guard. But all the same, Will fell with a cry of dismay. He was a small man, and Jinichi probably outweighed him by 20 pounds. By the time they hit the floor, the boy had already managed to pin one arm behind the elite's back, preventing him from dislodging himself. "What are you doing here?" Gold demanded, his brain running on autopilot. "How did you find me again?" Will gurgled under Jinichi's weight. "My arm! My ribs! Please, it hurts!" For all his complaining, Gold noted that Will did not immediately teleport away to safety. His eyes connected with Jinichi's, and the latter eased off, enough for Will to breathe easier. They did not see the Pokeball levitate off Will's belt until it suddenly burst open by the door. Marina leapt backward with a shriek as a Slowbro appeared before the door. A second later, the guard outside could be heard yelling in a muffled voice as the door shook.
"What's going on in there? Open up! Hey, I need backup!"
Will gasped as Jinichi doubled down on his arm, giving a hard twist. "One last hit attempt from the League, huh? Well, you're on sacred ground now, and it won't work. Call it back! My Pokemon are gone, but I don't need them to break your bones!" "Jinichi, wait a sec!" cried Gold, holding up his hand. "I want to hear his answer first." "Listen to him, Junie!" panted Marina, her face ashen. "It may feel like he's in your power, but we're actually in his. He could just vanish and leave his Pokemon to attack us." Gold could tell that it was true. The Slowbro blocking the door had a vacant stare plastered on its face, native to all its species. But beneath its mindless facade, Gold sensed a psychic pressure mounting in the room. There were more guards shouting outside, but they would never get through. There might as well have been a spell of holding upon the door, and there probably was. "I just wanted to make a deal!" Will protested in a high-pitched voice, still pained by Jinichi's hard grip. "For my sight back! But we can't talk in here where there are cameras!" "For your sight?" asked Marina incredulously. "It seems to me you found your way well enough. Something's up with you, and I'm not gonna just sit here and let you take Gold wherever you please." Jinichi hesitated. Gold saw his grip relax, and his face grow pensive. "Wait a second," he murmured. "We've been expecting a broken man to come. Could it be?" He looked down at the petite man, whose eyes stared at everything but saw nothing. There was a sudden, tremendous bang from the other side of the door, and Slowbro flinched a few seconds later. "They're going to get in," said Will urgently. "We have to go!" "No, we don't!" snapped Marina. "They're the good guys, and Master Lance is with them. I'd run if I were you." Another bang shook the room, and Will's head twisted in Marina's direction, frustration plain on his face. "You don't know the half of what's going on. Do you think I'd linger here if I had anyone else to go to?" Jinichi still appeared uncertain, and he looked to Gold as if expecting answers from him. "I can't believe I'm saying this, but I think I'm supposed to go with this guy." "What?" panted Will, sounding equally confused. "I don't even know who you are. I need Gold!" From outside the room came flashes and the sounds of Pokemon materializing. Ecruteak boasted a gym of ghost-type specialists, and in times of need, they would come to their people's defenses. Physical doors could not stop them, and psychic Pokemon, even the elites, could not stand long against them. If a decision was going to be made, it had to be now. "I'll come if Jinichi comes," Gold answered, hardly believing the words leaving his lips. "He's commanded to." "Not unless you take me too!" insisted Marina, surging up suddenly beside Gold. "I won't be left behind! It's all or nothing!" Gold and Jinichi both shot her the same look, conveying the obvious. "What are you doing?" But Will, finally wriggling free of Jinichi's limp grasp, recalled Slowbro into its ball. At the same moment, 2 more Pokeballs popped from his belt and burst open, summoning 2 Xatu into the room. Just as the walls began to swim with lavender-colored claws and emerging gaseous ghost Pokemon, the occupants teleported out. They were simply there one moment and gone the next.